Hello, welcome to another video. So today we are making this very basic sugar cookie recipe. We're getting right on into it. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare all of our ingredients. You want to start with about 2.5 to 2 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. I like the unbleached kind. I don't know, I just like that better. To that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. I just want to note that this is a sifter. This helps combine the ingredients really well. If you don't have one, that's perfectly fine. Just use a whisk and you can whisk it all together. Just make sure it's really incorporated. Now, let's add 1 egg. I prefer room temperature, and our flavoring of choice to a separate dish. Do about 2 to 3 teaspoons. You can do vanilla, almond, maple, or a combination. This is totally up to you. Mix it together really well, and then just set it aside. So I definitely recommend you use a stand mixer of some choice. If you don't have a stand mixer, use a handheld one, but don't try to mix this by hand. Okay, so we are going to add 1 cup of real unsalted butter, not margarine, butter. And you want to soften it. To do that, just let it sit out on your countertop. Take it out in the morning before you go to work, or even leave it out overnight if you're just going to get up early in the morning to do it. You just want it to be soft to make it easier to manage. Notice this paddle I have has this scraper on the edge. That's like a game changer. I'm adding 1.5 cups of confectioner sugar and letting that mix really well. Make sure you get it all the way incorporated. You don't want any little bubbles or anything like that. Ideally, you would sift the confectioner sugar, also known as powdered sugar, icing sugar, it's all the same. But you want those granules really nice and tiny. Doesn't that look so yummy? Like icing. Okay, now let's go grab that egg and flavoring mixture, and we're gonna toss it right in there and start mixing. So I like to start off really slow so things don't go everywhere. So you should try that too. Yes, I've had that issue before, trust me. So now we're going to get our flour mixture. This we're going to add little by little. If you put the whole thing in there, it's going to be a hot mess. It's going to go everywhere. These stand mixers come with little covers that can cover it to keep it from flying out. If that's an issue for you, you can also put a hand towel, kitchen towel, something over it to keep it from flying everywhere. Putting small batches of it in there seems to work best. Another trick is to use a rubber spatula to mix it all together, like that red one right there, to mix it all together before you turn the mixer on. You know your dough is ready when it has a little bit of give and it doesn't stick to your hands. So now it's the fun part. Let's get to rolling this dough out. What I like to do is take it all out of the mixer bowl just to inspect it, make sure everything is mixed well, no little dry spots of flour or anything in there. And then I kind of mold it all together, look at it, and now I'm going to split this into 2 because we don't need to roll out that big, huge thing. I like to work in small batches. You can pick up the little pieces of dough just by touching it right on top. So these are sizers that go on the end of your rolling pin. We want to roll this to 1/4 inch thick. These sizers on the end help me do that. They are there, they touch the countertop and get me to the right height for my dough. Ideally, you would flour the bottom and the top to keep the dough from sticking on anything. So if you have trouble with your dough sticking, make sure you're doing that. You can use confectioner sugar as well, but flour tends to work best. The key is to just roll consistently, adding not too much pressure, but make sure it's enough to actually work and do something. Now is the even more fun part where we get to use our cookie cutters. To use your cookie cutters, you want to make sure that the cutters have been drenched in flour or confectioner sugar. Some people like to spray them with nonstick spray. Any way it goes, you want to prevent them from sticking to the dough. And then just firmly press them. Make sure they go all the way through so that your dough doesn't stick in weird places and then you end up ripping it all apart. You can fix it, but it's just easier to do it the right way first. So just work through your cutters, fitting them in where you can fit them, and then carefully pull away the excess dough. That's my preferred method. That's the easiest way to get the shapes out of there. You want to carefully lift them from the surface. You can use different types of things to get them up. Just get up under there and pull them on up. If you make a mistake, you can fix it. This is dough. It's not baked yet. You can fix errors. You can even, a little more advanced technique, you can combine two different shapes to make a bigger, more complex one. You're going to bake these in a 400-degree oven for 6 to 9 minutes. Watch them. Check them early. You want to make sure the bottom isn't too dark and the top shouldn't be browned at all. And here is our finished product. These cookies may not be perfect, but they're perfect for icing.